welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk Ghosts.
Hello.
Hello. So today we, scrolling through, trying to find something to watch. Now, we ideally try to find something for under an hour for review. There's so much on there that's several hours, 2-3 hours long, and that's why? That's just too long for us. I think it's my attention span. If it isn't riveting, I lose it. And I don't like having to always say something bad about stuff. But if I'm bored, I'm probably gonna. Anyway, that being said, we did come across one and started to watch it because, and I recognized the name, and that was the only thing. Charm City Paranormal. And I recognized that name because it was in one that we just recently reviewed with Wolf Paranormal. And he was one of the guys that was with Evan. That was the other guy. And so we thought, well, we'll take a listen and watch it and see what we thought. And, it wasn't bad.
No.
It wasn't bad. But
the ending was good.
Oh, yeah. The presentation, everything was very well done. And we saw a lot of similarities between the two. So that makes me believe that they are friends. Evan and Mike are friends because they do a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And the same format. So it was familiar and it was comfortable and it was good.
Yeah.
The one we chose was Madison Seminary, and it was called Something Wicked Haunts This Hospital. So Madison Seminary.
The owner.
Oh, yeah. What's wicked that haunts it is Adam Kimmel, the owner. Yeah. So the first half of this hour episode, it first started out with just regular history, and then they're talking to Adam Kimmel, who loves the sound of his own voice.
Yes.
Now, we have had numerous instances where we've seen shows about Madison Seminary, so we're very familiar with it. And we're very familiar with all the stories that Adam likes to tell. One specific story, he talks about the forced abortion room upstairs. He was called on that one by Grant.
Ghost hunter.
Yeah, Grant and his crew. Because when they actually did a deep dive into the history, there was nothing to be found in the local history.
And everybody said it was a nice place.
Yeah, there was nothing bad there.
You can stop lying about this place.
To be fair, he did obviously backtrack on a lot of that because a lot of the scary stories he used to tell about, how bad it was, he's not using them now. In fact, he even said at one point...
But he's making up new ones.
That's the only one so far that he's really holding on to. But he's saying now that after doing some research, he's found that some of the stories that he'd been told were not true. So I think he's been called on it by more than just Grant and his team, but by other people that are calling him on his BS. To be fair, Adam Kimmel is a paranormal investigator on his own, and he bought Madison Seminary and Fairfax Asylum, or whatever it is, with the plans of kind of renovating them and keeping them and their history and their stories alive. Very admirable.
Yeah.
But it costs money. Yeah. And the way that he's making money is by selling ghost tours and ghost investigations. And you can't entice people to come sometimes with truth. You gotta give them a reason to want to come. And by saying something is scary, and there might be something demonic there, and people might be getting possessed, they're gonna come. They will come in droves. I mean, we've even saw in that little Sarah's room, whatever. Yeah. He actually admitted this time that he didn't really know who Sarah was. She could have been one of 5 different theories. So now he's finally admitting Sarah's not a little girl. But Sarah, according to him, really only interacts with you if you leave her an offering of money.
Yeah.
So the room that we saw, which is now a little fancier than it was when we first started watching.
There was nothing in that room.
Yeah, there was nothing but dust and some broken furniture. And now there's a bed and there's a dresser, there's dolls and stuffed animals. and dressers and makeup mirrors full of dollar bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, something's working there. One of the things that he showed this this investigative team was this one area, and I'd never seen it before. It had like a clothesline up and these little pieces of fabric hanging on that he said was there before the previous owners bought it. Now, the previous owners bought it in 1993. Yeah. Now, these pieces of fabric were white, and they were almost pristine, it looked like. They didn't look dirty at all. Yeah. And if they'd been hanging there for years 20, 30 years, they wouldn't be quite so clean. Yeah. And according to him, these are they think these are like people going in and making wishes and hanging these wishes on the line.
Well, before they cut the heads of the cats.
Oh, that was another story. God. Somebody was going one night when it was abandoned. She was telling the story, and I really believed her because she was a freaking good actress. That the night before they were going to break in to investigate, she looked in the window and it was just an empty floor. And then the second night when they were going to go in through that window, there was 13 cat heads on the floor.
Cut off cat heads.
Well, decapitated, so they're cat heads. Yeah. There's no body, there's just the heads. And he believed her because she seemed so believable. She didn't look like she was lying. Well, that's the power of acting. Anyway. So halfway in, after we've listened to Adam speak about all the history that he can possibly talk about, and putting ideas into these ghost hunters' heads, because now at the end of this, when they get ready for their investigation, they got all these preconceived ideas of what they think they're going to encounter. And I think he does it on purpose because then they're going to have a good experience and want to come back and pay the fee for whatever it is. I'm going to have to look that up. Pay the fee and do it again. Yeah. And true to form, at the end of this tape, this video, they say they want to go back because it's far too big to investigate in one night. Yeah. So he's reeled them in. Anyway, so halfway in, and I checked, I paused it, took a look to see how far we were in. Halfway in, they finally break away from Adam, send him on his merry way, I guess, and they get to finally investigate. And they're going to start in Sarah's room. So we've talked about Sarah, who could be a little girl, could be...
but everything, I'm not Sarah.
Yeah. Supposedly all these EVPs saying I'm not Sarah that we couldn't hear.
I appreciate you boosting them up, but when you boost up nothing... or wind, or rattles, or whatever, it doesn't help us.
No, I mean, truly, even if headphones, if you can't hear it, you can't hear it. It's not there. Yeah. So, were there really EVPs, or were they wishful thinking? Because, again, the power of suggestion can make you think you're hearing stuff that you might not be hearing. Yeah. I believe that they were trying. They were trying.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike did say that there were times when he wasn't sure what he was hearing, so he didn't show any of those. A lot of wind whistling through. In fact, there was one thing that he labeled as a wailing sound. Clearly, it was wind whistling through. If anybody's ever heard wind whistling through a space or trees, you know what it sounds like. And that's what it was. But, again... wanting to find something for the program. Yeah. There was one thing that really kind of irked me. He's got the thing, EVPs, and then he says, dragging sound and a knock. Those are not EVPs. The definition of EVP is electronic voice phenomenon. Voices imprinted on electronic recording devices. Not knocking sounds, not dragging sounds, voices. So, Mike, just a little learning thing for you. EVPs are voices. The other sounds are just sounds. Sounds. Not voices. Okay, my rant is over there. Now, back to the EVPs that we didn't hear. There was many. Now, there was a few that I could almost hear the syllables, but I couldn't make out what the words were. Yeah. So you can hear the underneath. but the EVPs were not clear. Yeah. And again, if you really want to share them and you want people to hear them, you need to boost them up somehow, clean out the background noise. That might have had some help if he'd done that, clean out the background noise and boost the EVP that way. That would have made it much easier to hear. So they spent a great deal of time in Sarah's room.
Yeah.
It was almost getting to be a Sarah's room investigation.
Yeah.
And then when they finally left, I don't think they really left to go investigate anywhere else before the Estes method.
Went into the dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
And sat in the pit.
That's right. They did one small Estes session there.
Yeah.
And apparently the basement, this dungeon area, is where they think, or Adam thinks somebody might have been buried.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is that true? We don't know.
At this point, Adam is a liar.
He's getting better, but he's still out to make a buck, and he needs to.
And that's fair. Everybody,
He needs to tell his stories to get people to keep coming back.
Yes. And, I was born yesterday, I
was born at night, but not last night? Yeah. So, again, it was a very short Estes session, which was okay. They said that it was very dark, and so they didn't show much of it. The rest of it is on their paid-for Patreon site. Okay, fair enough. That's fine. Yeah. I understand YouTube can be very difficult when it comes to language and stuff like that. And nowadays with people, there's a lot of people getting their accounts deactivated and stuff. You really want to be careful. Yeah. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
And I like that they showed us a little bit, at least. And then, So that was good that they did that. And then moving on, was there any other? I didn't make any more notes other than they went upstairs to the third floor where they were going to go.
Possession.
What about the possession?
Well, you never mentioned that.
Okay.
He held him by the arms.
Yeah. Okay, so part of Adam's story was there was a volunteer who was doing some, painting or something. Some sort of work, and he's up on a ladder on the third floor. And he leaves for a second. He's just going around the corner to go get, I don't know what he was going to do. Get something to drink or something. Anyway, not even 30 seconds. And he hears the guy mumbling and talking to himself. So he kind of pops his head around the corner. And the guy is suddenly saying, are you going to let me leave? Are you going to let us out? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And he tries to, get the guy's attention, and he just keeps repeating the same thing. So he very carefully takes the hammer from him and the chisel that he was working on and guides him down the ladder because he thinks he probably should take him outside for some fresh air, which is not a bad idea. Now, like I said, he's a seasoned investigator. That's the smart thing to do. And he said, so he's guiding this older gentleman down the stairs, and by the time he got to the second floor, the guy seems to have come back to normal. And, thank God we're taking a break. It was really hot up there.
But the truth is, the same story without the hammer and without the theatrics, he was painting. Okay. Painting with a dangerous paintbrush. And he felt something hit the ladder. That was ghostly enough, but he's got to embellish it. But anyway, the guy falls and breaks his arm.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So Adam heard him from basement, ran up the stairs, and helped him out.
That was the story that he told, I don't know how many years. He told Grant that story.
Yeah.
So that was a few years ago. Okay. So there's obviously different stories. I remember hearing about the guy falling off the ladder. Maybe 10 years ago or something. I don't even remember how long ago. So so he's embellished that story to make it scarier, so he's planted the seed of idea of, you might become possessed if you come there. This is a site where, it quite possibly could have some tragic histories because of the amount of people who's passed away there.
The building is 200 years old.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. And it was a school. It was what's the word I'm looking for? A place where Civil War widows would come and stay, and they were treated very well there.
Yeah.
I mean, he even said, he called them, the rooms were being very much like these beautiful little Victorian rooms. I don't know if Victorian is the right term, but it could be. Yeah. I don't know the time of the year. But they were treated very well. They had where they had no place to go, they did. They were able to go to whatever Madison was called back then and live amongst other women who had, lost their spouses as well. So that is not a bad thing. And then at some point, I guess many years later, in the 30s and 40s, they were not able to continue managing the building because of heating issues and stuff. And so the state took it over, and then it became like a hospital for criminally insane. And then he clarified that it didn't always mean people were criminally insane. That's just the kind of the title that they used for all kinds of mental health issues. Dementia. Clearly, he said that he was talking about this, women that have dementia. So I guess it was like women only after. I don't know. So if they're women only and they got dementia and they're stuck and they're in the hospital, I don't know how they could be doing forced abortions. Truly, that makes no sense. How'd they get pregnant? Yeah. Really? There's no men around. Well, ooh, must be the second coming. I don't know. But, of course, making up stories to make it, bad. I just find that one reprehensible. I don't like that story. Anyway, so at the end of this video, they decide they're going to go upstairs to the third floor and they're going to do the Estes method again. And there's 3 of them. So one of them, I think his name's David, he is laying on the sort of the bed in the forced abortion room, they call it. Yeah. And it's like one of those beds that has the stirrups, because I don't think the stirrups were there. So he's laying on that bed. There's a room that has 3 locks on the inside of the room. Now, all the other rooms have locks on the outside to keep people in. This room has locks on the inside, which leads me to believe it was probably staff housing or something. But, of course, we got to make it scarier than it is. Ooh, what were they trying to keep in there? Well, they're trying to keep themselves safe while the crazy people out there were out there. Yeah. So it could have been housing. It could have been just an office even, It could be their desks that were kind of scuffing the floor. Who knows? But obviously that was for staff, and that's the only thing that makes sense. Yeah. So Mike was in that room, with the 3 locks. And the other fella, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, guy. He was the one that was going to be asking the questions, and he was in that room area where the worker was possessed, supposedly possessed. And so that was really... I've never seen it done like that before, where you have one guy asking questions and 2 people in separate rooms answering the questions. Yeah. It was kind of confusing and hodgepodgey, but if you weren't filming it, I think you could go back afterwards and isolate the cameras, because there's a camera for each room, and then do that. The answers, you would be able to copy them and sort them out from there. Yeah. He spent a lot of time with Mike. So Mike and the guy doing the questioning, there was a lot of stuff going on there. But again, the power of suggestion came in, because Mike knew that there was a possession just before he decided to end, because he didn't feel right. He said, I didn't feel like I was myself for a couple of minutes, so I decided to end it soon.
What felt like 12 minutes felt like hours.
Yeah, but a lot of people say that. I hear that a lot. I think it's the sensory deprivation. Yeah. But when he said that he didn't feel like himself for a couple of minutes, no, that's that power of suggestion. That's going on there. And that's why I don't believe that getting that much of a history of a place is important prior to an investigation. It's better to go in cold, not know very much.
Well, you can get the hot spots.
Yeah, you can get the basic history.
Yes.
But I don't want to hear about all the...
Like when we do a house investigation, this happens here. This happens here. That happens in that room. But, you don't ramble on and,
on and on. Telling stories of what other people have seen or heard or done, because that starts to taint the investigation.
Yes.
Too much history is not a good thing.
Yeah.
You want the gist of it and then go in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you are not influenced. That's the same idea as saying a medium does not want to hear all the stuff before they go in. They just want to go in blind.
Going in blind is sometimes a good thing.
Especially with a site like this. Yeah. And the other thing that Mike said, and Mike, I really love you. I think you're a good investigator, but he said that before this he hadn't found very much on the internet about Madison Seminary, so he trusted Adam to be telling him all the truth. Now, if you had researched Adam, you would have seen all the controversy that he has created for Madison over the years. This is a site where he has said story after story after story, as we've said, and they don't always match up. So you can't always take one person's word as gospel. You have to trust your instincts. Yeah. That is the sign of a good investigator. Trust your instincts. Know that not everybody is going to be on the up and up. Sometimes they're feeding you a line of bullshit because you're paying money, you're making a video, you're going to give them more PR, and more people are going to pay their money and do those investigations. Yeah. Keep that in mind, because that's really important. Yeah. To be fair, we also know that he owns Fairfax, and he's really true to the story of Fairfax. He's good there because there's nothing bad to tell.
Yeah. Well,
and
so far we haven't seen a new video from...
That's true. Now, according to them at the beginning of this one, they just came back from doing Fairfax. So maybe we'll go find that one and see how that one is.
But, Mike, there's no malice on you.
Oh, no, none at all.
To be fair. And, if the fish smells bad, it's bad.
Yeah. Trust your instincts. Yeah. You've got good instincts.
Yeah, he does.
He does. I mean, we've seen him in another investigation with Evan from Wolf.
Yeah.
So we know that you're good.
Yeah.
We know that your team is good.
Yeah.
But just remember that you can't always trust. Just because he's telling you stories, don't. Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, I would make
piss on my leg and tell me it's raining.
yeah. It's just one thing, and that comes with practice, with knowledge. We've been doing this for 20-something years, so we've been around for a while, and I don't think you're that old. There, you look awfully young to me, but that's okay. So this really was fairly well done.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue at all with the camera work, the sound, the credits. There wasn't a lot of credits, but that's okay. It was a very good beginning. It was very well done. For people who might be interested in an interesting investigation, this was interesting.
Yeah.
But the amount of, as you say, yabba in the very beginning was a lot.
Yeah.
But it is, if you know anything about Madison Seminary from previous programming, and then you see Adam talking about it now, you can see where he's shifted away from a lot of the stuff that he used to say.
Yeah, like
but he's still holding.
Rapes and,
he's still holding
now
on.
There's forced abortions.
Well, he's still holding on to some of it, but he's let a lot of it go, which is a good thing. Hopefully, as time goes on, he will learn that he doesn't need to talk about all this other crazy stuff.
It's an old building. It's going to have ghosts.
Generally, especially when you have old people that have passed away there, and sick people and whatever, it was...
People with dementia.
Oh, yeah. But it was a good investigation.
Yes.
We will put the link below. We encourage people to take a watch. I think these guys are well worth, checking out and seeing what else they do, because it was well done.
We're gonna watch more of you.
We are certainly going to check them out a little bit further, and if we have any niggles, we'll let you know. But for the most part, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's it for today, folks. Enjoy the Madison Seminary from Charm City Paranormal. Have a good one.
Happy hunting.
Happy hunting. Bye now.